Tonight, millions of Americans are going to bed in cars. Not because they chose adventure, not because they want to, because rent won. In America's homelessness count, that reality is already there. The federal government counts people sleeping in cars, trucks, and RVs as unsheltered homelessness when those vehicles are being used as shelter. In January 2024, HUD counted 771,480 people experiencing homelessness on a single night. More than 274,000 were unsheltered. That number is huge, but the hidden crisis is bigger than the number suggests. Car living is what happens when housing becomes unreachable, wages stay low, and one bad month becomes a catastrophe. It is the edge of a system failure. And for more and more people, it is the last stop before the street. The first pressure is simple math. A two-bedroom apartment now takes $32.11 an hour to afford, if housing costs stay under 30% of income. A one-bedroom still takes $26.74 an hour. Millions of jobs do not pay that. Not close. So people cut everything: food, medicine, phone bills, heat. Then they cut their housing standard. Then they run out of options. At the same time, rents keep climbing and the supply of affordable homes keeps shrinking. Freddie Mac estimates the U.S. housing market was still short by about 3.7 million units in late 2024. That shortage matters. When there are too few homes, prices rise for everyone below the top of the market. And renters at the bottom feel it first. Harvard housing researchers say cost burdens are at record highs, especially for lower-income renters. After rent, there is less money left for everything else. Less cushion, less time, less room for error. Then comes the shock that pushes many people over the edge: eviction. In the places Princeton's eviction lab tracks, landlords filed more than 1 million eviction cases in 2024. Across those tracked cities, that came out to about 8 filings for every 100 renter households. In Phoenix, the pace was brutal. There were 86,946 evictions filed in 2024. That is one every 6 minutes. One missed payment, one medical bill, one lost shift. And suddenly, your home is in court. Evictions do not hit everyone evenly. Women were 58% of people named on filings in 2024, even though they made up a smaller share of renters in those areas. Black renters were also overrepresented. The crisis follows inequality that was already there. For many people, eviction does not mean a shelter bed appears. It means the car becomes the plan. And living in a car is not really living. It is logistics under pressure. Where do you park without getting ticketed? Where do you sleep without being moved along? Where do you shower? Where do you store your clothes, documents, medications, and tools? Where do you go when you need safety or privacy or just 5 quiet minutes? Every day becomes a puzzle, a fragile one. Some cities have created safe parking programs because people in cars are trying to stay connected to work, school, and services while avoiding harassment and tickets. Those programs can offer bathrooms, security, and case management. Basic things, but from a driver's seat, basic things become hard to reach. That is the point people miss. Car living is not freedom, it is constant coordination. And the crisis is not confined to one city or one coast. In Los Angeles County, more than 23,000 people were counted living in vehicles on a single night. That was over 44% of the county's unsheltered population. Think about that. Not a few isolated cases, a major share of homelessness. Right there in parked cars, vans, and RVs. Sometimes the scale becomes even more visible when cities count vehicles used as shelter. In Los Angeles, thousands of cars, vans, and RVs show up in the data. Suddenly, the crisis has a shape people can picture. A lot, an alley, a rest area, a school parking lot. Because yes, even schools are improvising shelter now. Some districts and colleges have opened safe parking lots for students and families. And the details are stark. one bathroom for dozens of people, spotty Wi-Fi, no fridge, no microwave, strict overnight rules. That is not a solution. It is a stopgap, a sign that the housing market has failed to do its job. This is why car living remains so invisible. It happens in plain sight. People keep working. They keep driving to school, to jobs, to appointments. They blend in until nightfall, when the car becomes bedroom, closet, and lock on the door. And because it is hidden, it is easier to ignore. But invisibility has consequences. If you do not see the crisis, you do not fund the response. If you do not understand the cause, you blame the person. And if you blame the person, the system stays untouched. The truth is not complicated. Low wages make rent harder to pay. High rents make eviction more likely. Eviction makes homelessness more likely. And a severe shortage of affordable housing keeps the pressure on every step of the way. That is why car living should never be treated as a personal failure. It is a visible symptom of an invisible breakdown. A housing system that leaves too many people one paycheck away from losing everything. HUD's 2025 count showed a small decrease overall, but the crisis was still enormous. 745,652 people experiencing homelessness on a single night. And some groups were still climbing, including older adults and people experiencing chronic homelessness. That is not a solved problem. That is a warning. A warning that the next recession, the next rent hike, the next eviction filing can push more people into cars. And once they are there, the burden is relentless. Heat, cold, safety, sleep, hygiene, storage, fear of being ticketed, fear of being moved, fear of being seen. This is what housing insecurity looks like when it becomes public but stays unseen. America is not short on evidence. It is short on homes people can actually afford. It is short on prevention. It is short on political urgency. And it is short on the will to treat hidden homelessness like the national emergency it is. So the next time you hear about people living in cars, do not think of an exception. Think of a housing market that has failed to catch them before the fall. Because what is hidden does not disappear, it just becomes easier to live beside. Support eviction defense, affordable housing, and safe parking programs.